Hi, my name is Zach Katkin. I'm the CEO of Olympia Marketing. We are a marketing advertising agency based in Southwest Florida, but we have clients all over the country. And today we're going to be talking about how to promote your website and just go over some basics as well as a key point, especially in the beginning of this presentation, that I want to communicate to any business owners that are out there. Things that I see almost every business owner I ever encounter miss, and some examples and how to do the research on your own to figure some things out. Now, some of the technical parts may be a little bit trickier, may take time to learn, but the basics, which I find are actually the most valuable, are going to be super important, and basically will be able to help you understand how you could grow your business 10 times or 100 times where you're at today. So let's get into it. First, a little bit about me. I am the CEO of Olympia Marketing. My name is Zachary Katkin. I've been doing marketing professionally for over 20 years. I've managed hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars of budget with AdWords. I've worked with multiple billion-dollar companies, as well as helped small businesses grow. It's actually my favorite thing is taking a small business, a company that's maybe doing $500,000 in revenue a year, maybe $1 million in revenue a year, and implementing strategic, scalable marketing strategies and helping them grow, 5, 10, 20, 30 times. So that's a bit about me. We're going to go, here's an overview of the presentation. Mainly we're going to talk about figuring out your market, right? That's the most important part of this presentation. We are going to go into how to promote your website, but I think there's a lot of, content out there about that. The big point that I want to get to is how you as a business owner, no matter your type of business, can figure out your market. And then finally, the importance of website promotion in the digital age, which I think is overlooked, honestly. Like these days, it's funny how so many companies think about social media, concentrate on social media, and yet social media it can be certainly valuable and helpful, but it's often not from a direct marketing. Is this going to lead to business? Is this going to lead to customers coming in? It's not the most valuable. Perfect example of this is a business I've worked with now for over a year. It's an outdoor storage facility in Inglewood, Florida. And when we first sat down, this was before they had even created the business, created the LLC, bought the initial property, set everything up. They were adamant about having a large social media presence and spending a lot of money, potentially thousands of dollars a month on social media. And, I talked to them about that, and I maybe was a little bit flippant when I said, how many people do you think are going to log into Facebook wondering about your outdoor storage facility? And what kind of information or interesting, things can you publish about your business that somebody's going to go, oh, that's interesting and that's amazing, right? Like if a new spot opens up or there's a new type of gravel that you've laid down, like, minus some I'd say some big picture things that could be communicated up front and initially, i.e. good security, high tech and nice fences, nice lighting. What else is there that anybody would care about as far as a storage facility? And it took a little bit, but they finally acquiesced, and now we're doing, millions of dollars all through just their website and AdWords. And we didn't spend a dime. They don't even have any social media presence whatsoever, because that kind of business is not going to benefit from any sort of social media presence. And really, it's as simple as this. Is your business a social business? If it's a restaurant, if it's a salon, these kinds of businesses where people want to see other people having fun, doing things, enjoying new meals, seeing the new menu that the chefs created, or in the case of, let's say, a hair salon, what are the styles that the particular salon owner or the various hairstylists are executing. Other than that, if it's not an inherently social business, you should not really spend much time on social media, flat out. Now, there's some more sophisticated things. Obviously, we're going to get into some of that, but For now, that's a big overview of the importance of website promotion in the digital age. Oftentimes, you'll see literally like 1,000 to 1 return compared to social media if you spend your time, money, effort, energy on a website and kind of conventional SEO or AdWords, right? So let's get to the meat of this presentation, figuring out your market, right? So this occurred to me. I've thought about this many times over the last 10, 15 years. It occurred to me specifically because I had a friend, a woman I've worked with, used her services for many years. She reached out and said, Zach, I know you do this kind of thing. What can you help me with? Right. And now in this case, we didn't have a deep conversation. She just doesn't have the time. She's just too busy with her business right now. For me to understand from kind of a Sandler Sales Institute perspective, what does she really want? What is she looking for? What does she need? And then match, what I do with those things, which I tend to find is, generally the best sales process out there. So I wasn't really sure what she was looking for, but I will say she was pretty immediately surprised. I did an overview of her website, took a look at her SEO, and then made some recommendations. And this is it's an interesting business. So it's based out of Tampa, and it's a what do you call them? They're called like IV cocktails, right? So she does injectable vitamin C and various other things, NAD, ozone, etc. And she's tremendously busy, and she's got kind of a temporary makeshift location down here in Southwest Florida and one in Tampa, St. Pete area. And I forget the number she told me off the top of her head, but I think she's doing about $1 million a year with like 50% profit margin. So, overall, it like all expenses paid, everything said and done, 50% margin. So it's a very, very healthy business. And she was looking to, from what I could tell, she's looking to expand, grow, get some more customers, especially down here. And I made some recommendations. I said, okay, well, here's what I think you should do, X, Y, Z, right? And I based those recommendations on some things that I'm about to show you, but it just didn't click, right? She said, she immediately was like, oh, wow, that's expensive. No, I wouldn't do that. Why would, I already have a website. I already have a web develop, like a webmaster that takes care of my website. I don't understand why would I do any of this? So I tried again. I tried something a little bit different where I said, hey, well, what are your margins? What are you doing as a business right now from a revenue perspective? People that walk in the door, about how many of them become actual clients. And then I did the math backwards, and I looked at, okay, here's how much of the total addressable market as I could see it, which we're about to go into exactly what that means. You're getting right now, right? And here's the entire, let's see, this is weird. I can never do this. Here's the entire addressable market. The people in Tampa, St. Pete, and Southwest Florida searching for these IV cocktails every single month. This is the entire market. You're getting this much. And most of it's not digital. It's all been through word of mouth. So if we spend and execute this plan, here's the total percent that we can get. If you want to go 20%, 30%, 40%, 50%, 100%, right? And in turn, the amount of revenue and the amount of net profit that you'll see from this. So literally dollar for dollar, saying if you spend $10,000 every single month, you're going to be receiving, $250,000 in new customers, right? And in this case, I was very surprised to see how many people were and are searching for these kinds of services. It's very, very clear that there's a huge market for this, based on my additional competitive research, that nobody's really going after it. digitally at least, and that there was a lot of market share to be taken, basically. And that leads me to something. So we're going to jump back to the, how to find the audience, and how to do this research yourself. But something I did want to mention, which is changing in the recent 5 years to most markets, right? Not most, let's say, I don't know, from what I can tell, probably 30 to 40 or 50% of markets. So I mentioned this in another presentation in a different context, but what I have seen happening, so we can do this in the in one context here. Let me go ahead and open up a tab and do it. So type it in storage facility, search for storage facility, and what do we see? We have one ad, two ads, three ads. We have a fourth ad inside the local, and we have to literally, even on this giant monitor, we have to scroll down about halfway to get to the first organic listing. And even this isn't too competitive. Let's do 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, a little bit more. Let's see, Miami. Right. And then let's use hazardous waste cleaning. All right, we've got an AI results at the top. We've got a sponsored, another sponsored. We've got a government website. Let's see. Yeah, so this is a decent example of what I'm about to say. So what am I doing here? What's the point of this, right? Well, the point is a couple-fold. In a lot of industries, what's happened is third parties have either stepped in, like this is a great example of a third party stepping in. EES Consults or Consulting is a complete independent third party that once I call or hit their contact form, what they do is then they turn around and sell my lead. If I were interested in hazardous, cleaning, they would sell the lead to a local provider, right? So they've inserted themselves in the middle because they know that your average small business that does hazardous cleaning isn't going to take the time, spend the money, be able to find the correct vendor to do online marketing correctly. So they're like, screw it, we'll do it ourselves. And we'll take the margin. So maybe, I happen to know a bit about this space. They probably paid $100 for that click right there. It's very, very lucrative business. And, if they get 20% of the people contacting them, they sell it to the local vendor that's actually going to do the job for $500 or $1,000. They've made money on the lead that they were the arbiter for as far as Google's concerned. Similarly, if we go back to the storage facility stuff, we've got massive major national competitors. So you've got, Extra Space, Public Storage, CubeSmart, Self Storage. These are all massive national competitors that all pay tremendous amounts of money for SEO, for local SEO, and for pay-per-click marketing. And they turn up, the competition has gotten to a point where they all know how much everybody else is paying for each one of these leads and what the maximums that they can afford to pay for each one of these leads and what the odds are that they're going to convert into an actual paying customer. And so they just move the needle all the way up to that final, marketing margin and call it a day. All right, we need to make 30%. We know if we get a customer, at this rate, we're going to make our nut, and the maximum that we can afford for that actual customer is XYZ. Our closing rate is 20%. So we need 5 leads, and we can spend up to $400 per lead, and make money all day long. So these companies have gotten very, very, very sophisticated. And basically what you've had in both cases often are private equity firms stepping in and encouraging companies to move in this direction. Just scale up super quickly. It eliminates local competition, especially small business local competition. And so it's gotten very, very tricky in certain spaces to compete, both because the national guys are playing a very tough game. Then you have national like lead vendors that step in and say, all right, we're going to market on behalf of this industry and then sell the leads. Because, unfortunately, a lot of small businesses don't have a very business-oriented mindset, right? They don't think about, okay, this is where we're at, where can we get? And if there's an opportunity, if you're not going after it as a small business, someone else is going to come along and take it, right? And I see this a lot, too, right now in the home services businesses. So the HVAC industry, plumbing, electrical, et cetera, et cetera. So the trick is, and what I'm trying to express here is that two things. One is that most businesses don't realize the tremendous amount of opportunity that they have. Even older businesses that have been around for 50 years, big, large, it doesn't matter. There's small businesses. There's a tremendous amount of opportunity. And I'll use an example of a client that I was talking to this about. I won't mention the client's name, but they are a window installer. They use a local Florida-based manufacturer, and they install windows for customers. Mostly, they do some commercial, but mostly residential. And so, let's get into the meat of this. Your audience is looking for your business right now. How are they going to find you or your competitors? But really, how do you do the research yourself, and what is that total market, right? So, one of the tools that I like to use, it's not going to be as good for this particular deep dive as far as let's use an example of the glass company. But if we look at, let's say, glass windows, right? Google Trends is a decent tool. It allows you to see state by state what's going on, which is really nice. You can see Florida's pretty hot. Michigan's pretty hot. Weirdly, New Hampshire is very hot. You could see some additional trends that are happening, and then you can just drill down into whatever you'd like, right? So we're gonna drill down into Florida, and let's change the term, or let's do comparisons. So let's do new windows, right? So boom, you can see here in the last, what is this period? Week. This day, excuse me. Let's do the past 5 years. Here's what those trends look like. No matter what, right off the bat, you know that new windows is a much better term. It gets about twice the amount of traffic as glass windows. So that's something to keep in mind for SEO reasons. Then you look at a breakdown of interest by location. If you're a glass company, okay, Miami's the biggest market, probably also the most competitive. But what's number 2, 3, 4? It's Fort Myers, Panama City, West Palm Beach, Tallahassee. So these are very important things for a business to use and understand, especially if you're doing research, considering moving, have moved, or are looking to expand territory, these kinds of things, right? Let's see here. Is this spike? Yeah, it looks like there was a big spike because of the hurricane. But let's look at city specifically, right? And now this is a relative comparison. It doesn't actually tell us the numbers. We're going to get to that in a second. So here I'm going to use AdWords, and I'm going to log into my own account and show you the tool to use here. So my account looks a little bit different than most of yours, but once you're logged into AdWords, if you go to Tools and then Keyword Planner, that's where you're going to get this information. So this particular client was based in Naples. They are a window installer. They also do some sliding glass doors and whatnot. So, but let's do new windows, window installer, sliding glass doors. We're going to go ahead and hit search or get results. And now what we're going to do is, never seen that before. Sure, exclude adult ideas. We're going to change the locale. We're going to change that to the Fort Myers, Naples metro area, which is their service area. And we're going to see, okay. And Google does a really good job with this particular tool. We can see here that we've got new windows, about 10 to 100 people. Window installer, 10 to 100 every month. This is for the entire metro area. Sliding glass doors, upwards of 1,000. Then we have window replacements, window installers, replacement windows near me, and a bunch of various other keywords, right? And then what's really nice with this tool is you also have some things that I like to use. I've mentioned this in other videos, but you've got a relative competition, which I find translates very nicely into SEO competition. So if you have high competition for sliding glass doors, for example, right, what that's actually telling you is that there's a lot of people bidding on these things. If you have low, it means there's relatively low amount of people bidding on these things. So usually that means that they haven't put much time or thought into their website, because it's just a correlation that I've noticed over time. And then you have various ways to refine this, right? You can add brands. This is all information that Google provides automatically based on its intelligence on what you're searching for, right? Let's add a few more keywords. Oh, it totally does away with that. And so there's just a ton, literally there's over 1,400 results here. And this is one of the first steps that I start with internally. But my point is this, you add all these up and you're looking at thousands of people searching per month for this particular service, right? Like we know right now, sliding glass doors, let's say, gets an average of about 1,000. Now, these are approximations. Sometimes they're lower, sometimes they're higher. But let's do a little bit of math here. Let's say there's 1,000 people per month. And you've got the price per click is around $14 on the high end, $3.37 on the low end. So normally I would estimate that a good starting price per click is going to be $7, right? But we got 1,000 people, and usually we can get, about 12% of them to click on our ad. So we get 120 people. At $7 a piece, you're going to spend $840 to get in front of that keyword, right? So we're looking at 120 people. If we can convert, let's say 5% of those people, 6 leads a month, the sales team has a 50% close rate, right? That's 3 new deals a month. Sliding glass doors, I know generally are around, it depends on a lot of factors, but $20,000 a piece. You're looking at $60,000 in additional income. And usually I want to say the margins on that are 30%. So $18,000 in profit, minus obviously the $1,000 or so you've spent on going after that one particular keyword, right? So this is what I mean. And alternatively, another way you can look at this is to absolutely own, dominate, crush any other competitor. What are we looking at, right? And so what I like to do for clients, if they're interested in that kind of thing, is you add up all of the numbers. And now, again, this is an estimate. Usually what we end up doing is putting together a plan, executing on that plan, and then after the first month, going back and figuring out, okay, how closely were these numbers that Google gave us as estimates? Were they to the reality of what we're seeing? Often, honestly, sometimes it's lower, but oftentimes it's much higher in terms of there's a lot more traffic than Google communicates. And so as a part of my process, our team's process is after the first month of executing, usually first the website and then an AdWords campaign, we'll then go back to the drawing board, report on spend hours sometimes developing a full report and then communicating that to the client to say, okay, to be number one in this market, here's what you need. Like I did this recently in the HVAC industry. Any company could come into Southwest Florida and spend about $50,000, $60,000 a month on AdWords, have a great website, and completely and utterly own the HVAC industry, right? Which is down here is probably almost $1 billion industry. So, so this is what I wanted to communicate. This is really the only two tools I think that you need. And for part 2, what I'll do is go through some, specifics on how to promote your website. But the most important thing that you have to understand as a business is that you can use these free tools to understand immediately, oh shit, here's how many people are searching for these words every single month. And here's a relative metric on how competitive my industry is, as well as approximately how much I would pay to get in front of that particular audience. And it's also something, if you're planning a business, like you're developing a business plan right now or marketing plan, you can see fairly accurately, okay, for replacement glass for doors, my competitors are spending $8 to $23 per click, right? That's pretty high. So, they're probably going to need 5 or 6 clicks to get an actual conversion, to get an end customer. So they're spending about $80, let's say between $40 and $80 per lead. That's just their marketing cost. So when you go and you quote a job, well, you need to build that in if you want to be competitive and own the market by actively marketing your business. Because, it's my opinion that, certainly, obviously, I'm in the industry, I'm going to say this, but also it's just a truth. I've seen it countless times. If you're good, people will use you, but it doesn't mean you'll be able to grow, right? It's a sad fact. I've seen this many, many times. I've been involved in businesses, sadly, that didn't understand this, where it doesn't matter if the tool or the product is useful or is amazing. It doesn't matter if you're fantastic at what you do. If you're not actively, people's attention spans are very small. People's charity is very small. There's the old adage where if somebody has a bad experience with you, they'll spend 9-10 times the energy complaining as they will if they have an amazing experience, in terms of leaving you a positive review versus leaving you a negative review, or telling 5 of their friends versus telling 1 of their friends. 5 that they had a bad experience, 1 that they had a good experience. So people are inherently like this, sadly. So, a lot of businesses get comfortable and then market downturns happen and they don't know what to do. It's been my experience with business. There's only one way, and that's up. You have to keep growing. You have to keep marketing yourself. And this is a great way to understand, no matter what your industry is, how to, or what the addressable market is in your location, right? And let's say we wanted to change this. Let's look at, so there's about 4.1 million people in Lee and Collier counties, and we have about 1,000 people a month searching for sliding glass doors. Let's look at Miami. Let's see the Miami-Fort Lauderdale metro area. It includes Key West. Let's make that smaller. I don't want to include Key West. Let's just do the county. Yeah, that's fine. From this perspective, and this is a perfect example where, unfortunately, Google's not the most accurate as far as this external tool. Once you start using AdWords, you'll get the actual raw data and be able to see it. But same thing here. It looks to be about the same, even though it's twice the size metro-wise, population-wise. But here we can see window replacement. People are paying a lot of money for window replacement. And in this case, a good negative keyword would be something you wouldn't want to bid on. It's like car or auto, right? But dog door for sliding door. So yeah, that's this presentation in a nutshell, right? So at least for part one. So we went through how to do this research yourself. Check out trends.google.com. It's a great first place to start, especially if you're considering opening up a business or moving your existing business to a new area. Fantastic tool for that purpose. And then create an AdWords account. It's totally free. I even have coupons for $500 free. So if you're interested, shoot me an email, zach@olympiamarketing.com. $500 free advertising. But one of the best things that you'll get access to once you create your Google Ads account is Tools Keyword Planner. And then you'll be able to see, exactly how many people are searching for your particular product. And actually, let's do one last one. Let's do the IV treatments. And let's look what. Yeah, look at that IV treatment near me in the Miami-Dade area. 1 to 10,000. Usually that means it's on the higher end. Usually it's like 10,000. IV drip therapy, IV vitamin therapy, IV fluids, IV infusion. Tons and tons of people are searching for this. Super high margin business. You can see that this is starting to get competitive, at least in Miami, where you have $41 at the top of the bid. Because it's such a high margin product, usually they charge like $150 to $200. The bags themselves cost a couple bucks, and then you have the nurse that administers it and a little bit of overhead. I mean, this is going to become a massively competitive space soon, but right now it's not. And unfortunately, in this case, I wasn't able to convince the business owner to move forward. But it's just this. The understanding of how this all works start to finish, well, there's step one, what I'm trying to communicate with this video is there's a huge market out there of people, maybe they've read about it in AARP or on various websites or YouTube or wherever they've heard about it. They're looking for this thing, right? And then if you're the business or a savvy business owner and you're thinking about starting up a business, you can use this tool to investigate trends and then hop into certain markets. So this is an excellent example of that. So how do you do the research? Go to Google Trends, create an AdWords account, go to Tools Keyword Planner, and just start playing around with the particular keywords to see what's going on. So if this is helpful, please leave a comment. Really appreciate your time. Thank you and have a great evening.